Hello, welcome to the Gay Cruise and Travel Podcast with me, just Joey T. All right, before we get started, just a quick reminder-ish, kind of sort of reminder. I know everybody's busy with their summer activities and travels and whatnot because we are smack dab in the middle of the summer travel season. You know, it's about to be August, coming up to the end of July. Just a quick reminder that the Atlantis Halloween cruise is not all the way until the end of October, which is a time of the year no one is thinking about right now. We're only thinking about going to the beach, taking summer vacations, but that is has been selling pretty well. And if you did have an eye on going on that Atlantis cruise, sailing from Miami is on the East Coast this year. Traditionally, that Halloween cruise has pretty much always been from Southern California, either from LA or from San Diego, depends on the year. This year is on the East Coast, out of Miami, but it is still a Halloween cruise with Atlantis. That one is not quite on the verge of selling out, but I think it's mostly full. So if you are ready to bite the bullet and book that one, I wouldn't wait too much longer. If you are still really on the fence about it, I think you still have probably like a little bit of time left, but I'm not sure if this is going to sell out. I think it's like a 50-50 chance whether this might sell out. So if you were kind of sort of thinking about it, I would say give it a little bit more of a think and see if you can make up your mind. Maybe before the end of August, possibly. You might have, I wouldn't sit on it for too much longer. Don't wait till the end of September to try to book it. That's what I'm trying to say. If there's a chance you think you might want to go on this cruise. All right, that little reminder aside, last week I gave everybody an introduction to points and miles. What are points and miles? How can you use them? How can you earn them? And that was more informational, and definitely for those of you out there that don't really know much about points and miles at all. On the flip side of that, I do appreciate that quite a lot of you have some knowledge and experience with points and miles. A lot of you do have credit cards, and the bulk of credit cards out there, they do earn you points and miles. A lot of you do travel because, I know that the audience for this podcast and for my YouTube channel tend to be people that travel at least somewhat. You might not be a frequent traveler. You might not be on a plane pretty much every month like I am, but you do travel probably like 2 or 3 times a year. So you're not completely oblivious to points and miles in terms of when you hop on a plane, you're probably earning miles, a lot of you out there. And when you go on a hotel stay, you're staying at a hotel somewhere, you're probably earning points. One of the very popular things to do, and it's very prominent in advertising from the banks and financial institutions nowadays, are all these credit cards that have all these headlines about, earning points and having all these rewards and benefits, and you're a loser if you don't have this stupid expensive credit card. Just a couple of blocks away from my house, there is this, I guess this building that is currently vacant, like a retail storefront building that is, there's no occupants there right now. And a lot of those types of vacant storefronts, advertisers take advantage of that and, plaster like the windows with ads, almost like a billboard. And just a couple of blocks from here at one of those vacant storefronts is advertising posters that covers all the windows about a new Chase credit card that has just been refreshed. And you might have seen it. It's the Chase Sapphire Reserve credit card. It is now the most expensive credit card in terms of the annual fees that are out there. They're not advertising the $795 you're going to need to pony up every year for its annual fee, but they're advertising, like all these like fancy sounding taglines and, expensive looking people drinking expensive looking drinks and doing expensive looking things. Anyways, today I want to chat a little bit about credit cards and points and miles. And it's going to be more of a cautionary type talk. Well, a little bit of it will be kind of sort of cautionary because there is a lot of marketing with credit cards, at least here in the US. But US consumers also are drowning in a lot of credit card debt. And it's quite easy to get into debt, especially with credit cards, because it is so easy to just charge things to a credit card. And it's also stupidly easy to get credit cards from credit card companies. It's like they hand them out like candy. I was talking to David Lamb a little while ago, and we're just somehow talking about miles and points and stuff. And he was asking me some advice about credit cards, but he lives down in Australia. And to take Australia, for example, they don't give out credit cards like candy, like they do here in the US. And the system and the process and the checks for applying for credit is quite different down there with their regulations versus up here in the US. So the cautionary part I want to mention, which hopefully I just have to mention it once and I never ever have to mention it again. I don't want it to be like a whatchamacallit, like a preachy, like a parental preachy type of a moment. So I'll try to keep it like fairly short, but it's very important that I think if you want to get credit cards, especially for the purpose of miles and points, or if miles and points is a major incentive for you to go get and apply for credit cards, especially if you're going to do it with multiple credit cards. Just be aware of a couple of things. The first thing is, again, credit card is very easy to get into debt with them. So the general rule of thumb in kind of in like the miles and points and credit cards game, I keep calling it a game, but in that respect, it's a general rule of thumb that you're going to be able to pay your credit cards off in full. If you really can't do that, it kind of nullifies all the quote unquote value that you're going to get out of the miles and points you earn from the credit cards by all the interest you might be paying by carrying a balance on a credit card. Because interest rates on credit cards are cray-cray. They're like well into the 20-something% on most credit cards. And that fluctuates over time. So they can go up on you without much warning, honestly. And there's not that much you can do about it. So it is definitely not worth getting any credit card for whatever benefits and perks that it offers, for any miles or points that it might be able to earn you, if you're going to carry any sort of balance on it and paying any sort of interest by carrying that balance. It's something that is kind of a very fundamental requirement, in my opinion, if you are going to be using credit cards to try to earn miles and points. If you can't pay your credit card off in full, using credit cards, it's kind of already like a questionable thing where you should be using credit cards in the first place. That's maybe a bit more for a personal financial expert to help you decode whether credit cards are right for you or not. I'm a big fan and listener of Susie Orman. If you don't know who she is, whip about your Google app and Google her. But I listen to her podcast every week, actually. But I listen to a lot of her advice. But that doesn't make me a personal financial expert. It's an area that I'm interested in. But I think it just bears repeating. If you cannot comfortably pay off your credit cards in full every single month and every single year for as long as you have all of your credit cards, don't be using them for miles and points. It's really, it just cancels out any value you might get from the miles and points you might earn from the credit cards. If you're going to be paying interest on it, it just makes absolutely no sense. The interest on those are just astronomical. So that's the first thing that, when you go on all these very popular websites that talk about miles and points and credit cards and things like that, they don't point that out very much. It's kind of like a fundamental thing that people in the miles and points community, everyone kind of knows that. Everyone that's like a miles and points enthusiast, if you will. And people kind of sort of take it for granted. So I think it doesn't get mentioned very much. So that's the first thing, something very important that I think people would need to understand, especially for those of you that are new to credit cards. Maybe you are a younger adult just starting out in your adult life. You don't have much of a credit history. You don't have a lot of experience how to build credit. Again, I'm not a personal financial expert, so I have my own opinions on it, but I don't want to start dispensing general financial advice, which this is not, and this is not a financial podcast. But moving on from that, switching gears a little bit, now having established that, assuming all of you can comfortably pay off all your credit cards, another question that I sometimes get is, what credit card should I get for miles and points purposes? That's a bit of a tricky question to answer. It depends on your particular situation, what you want out of it. But a lot of you just want quick fixes. And I feel like with financial related things, there are no quick fixes usually. But what I could talk a little bit about is some of the credit cards. But you all seem to really want me to just tell me something to get. I'm going to talk a little bit about some credit cards that are examples that I think are good for people that are wanting to start out on using credit cards to start to earn some sort of points and miles. Okay, we're not going to talk about any of the uber expensive, highly specialized credit cards like the one that I see ads for on that vacant storefront 2 blocks away from my place. We talk about the more basic, low or no annual fee credit cards that for some of you, maybe you do have credit cards already and you're comfortable using credit cards. You use credit cards for your everyday purchases already. So you know how credit card works. And because you have been using credit cards, hopefully you have a good credit score because you've been responsible using the credit. You pay off your credit cards in full every single month. But maybe your credit cards, they don't do anything for you. Yeah, it works to buy things, but it doesn't really do anything else for you besides letting you buy things. There are credit cards that exist like that are hopefully no annual fee. And it's a Visa, a MasterCard, Amex, or whatever. And they let you buy things, which you thought was great. But they don't give you any miles. They don't give you any points. They don't give you any benefits. They don't give you any sort of protection. There are some very inexpensive or no annual fee credit cards out there that will give you miles, that will give you points, that will give you a small amount of perks and maybe a little something extra that could be useful in certain cases. And I think that is kind of like the way to go. My mom, for example, she doesn't travel. She doesn't travel. She still buys things in cash money. She very rarely uses credit cards. She doesn't shop very much. She just gets groceries. She doesn't go shopping. She doesn't go to the mall. She doesn't buy a lot of clothes or anything. She lives a very frugal lifestyle. What actually happens with my mom is us kids end up buying the fancy things that she wants to buy. The kids are the credit cards. She has a credit card, but if she wants something that's not considered a basic necessity, even sometimes some of those things, but For example, my mom has to be bugging me to buy her a brand new phone. She doesn't need one, but she's like, she would like one. And she has a unique way of hinting at us kids to buy her stuff. So whenever I visit her, sometimes she'll be like, oh, hey, I think this thing is broken. It's not broken. She just wants a new one. But then I just buy her it. But then I use my own credit card, right? Okay, getting off the topic a little bit. But anyways, yeah, so if you fit that profile, you use credit cards regularly, you know how they work, you know you can pay off your credit cards in full every single month comfortably, and it's not a problem for you. And you therefore most likely have an excellent credit history and probably a great credit score. You should probably look into a credit card that does something for you. So like I said, my mom, she does have a credit card. I don't know if it's actually, I think it might actually even charge her some small annual fee, but it doesn't earn her any points, any miles, or anything. That's like the worst kind of credit card to have. Like, why would you pay a fee for a credit card that doesn't provide you anything in return? I was talking to my mom about that actually. So I'm gonna just list examples of some credit cards that I really like that has no annual fee. Let's start there. That I think would make great credit cards for a lot of people out there. So I'm going to start off with, by the way, this is all US information, if this wasn't clear already, but I'm going to start off with Chase. So Chase, JP Morgan Chase, they are a huge credit card issuer here in the US, and they have their Freedom line of personal consumer credit cards. So they have a few different ones. So there's the Chase Freedom Unlimited. So it's a no-fee credit card. So you don't pay an annual fee just to have that credit card. And it earns you 1.5% cash back. So it's marketed as a cash back credit card. Usually there are two types of rewards credit cards. Ones that earn you points and ones that earn you cash back. So the ones that earn you points is, for example, for every dollar you charge the credit card, you get 1 point. It's pretty easy, right? It's kind of like what we talked about in last week's episode. A cashback credit card, how it usually works is, for example, for every dollar that you put on the card, you might get 1 cent back. So like a 1% return, okay? This particular credit card, the Chase Freedom Unlimited, is marketed as a cashback card, but it actually earns Chase points. It's a little confusing, and let me walk you through this. Chase points for the credit cards, they call them Ultimate Rewards points. With the Chase points, you can redeem them for a cashback on that credit card. So that's how they're marketing it as a cashback card. Because technically, it's not like you spend $1,000 and then you get a $10 credit on your statement, which is how you might imagine the cashback working. And for some cashback cards, that is how it works. You would just get a statement credit back on it on your monthly statement. And that's like the easiest, kind of most straightforward, more intuitive way to think of a cashback card. In this particular case, with the Freedom Unlimited, you actually are earning Chase points, which you can then redeem for cashback or a statement credit back. So that's why they are able to market it as a cashback card. However, the type of points that this card earns is the exact same type of Chase points that their fancier travel credit cards earn, including that super expensive one, the Chase Sapphire Reserve. That's like $795 a month. It's a very expensive credit card geared for luxury travel people. But that fancy credit card earns the exact same type of Chase Ultimate Rewards points as this no annual fee, basic, quote unquote, cashback card that it is marketed as. So this one is actually a really, really great card. It's a very popular card. So it earns 1.5% cash back on every purchase, i.e. it earns 1.5 Chase points. Plus, it also has some bonus categories as well. So instead of the 1.5% you earn on just regular purchases, if you are dining out, it's 3%. So that also works on certain delivery services that are eligible. And if you go to a drugstore like a Walgreens or a CVS, you also get 3%. So these are what I call bonus categories. Bonus categories are quite popular in the credit card world. And that means if you spend on something that is within that category, here it's on dining out and food delivery services, select ones. You get 3%, which is, double the regular 1.5. And another of the categories are drugstores, where you also get 3% instead of the regular 1.5. So that is that's an excellent card. I have this credit card actually, and it's it's been one of my staples, one of the staple credit cards in my wallet for many, many years now. So, and the Chase points are very, very flexible. They have one of the better selections of partners in terms of airlines and hotels that they partner with. So the Chase points are quite flexible and therefore quite valuable as well because of the catalog of travel partners that Chase partners with for their points with which you can transfer them to. So yeah, the Chase Freedom Unlimited is definitely one that you can take a look at. Again, if you have a credit card right now that doesn't earn you anything and you want your credit card to start doing something for you, earning miles and points, the Chase Freedom Unlimited is an excellent one. All right, the next credit card I'm going to talk about is with Capital One. And Capital One, they run so many ads on TV and streaming. You've probably seen one of their ads before with like the Capital One guy. One of their credit cards has no annual fees but earns miles is the Venture One Rewards credit card. So that one gives you 1.25 miles per dollar. So before I was saying the Chase Freedom Unlimited gives you 1.5 points per dollar. This one is 1.25 miles per dollar. Capital One, they call their currency miles and call them points, but like I explained in last week's episode, points, miles, potato, potato. And this one, again, no annual fee. And this one, it's a very similar card in the major ways to the Chase one. The earning rates is a little bit different, 1.5 instead of the 1.25. However, Capital One, they have a different set of partners that they partner with in terms of airlines and hotels, for example. So if you are, for example, a loyal United frequent flyer, Chase partners with United. So United is an airline partner with Chase. That means you can take Chase credit card points and transfer them directly to the United Miles program. Capital One does not partner with United. They partner with some other airlines, but United is not one of Capital One's travel or airline partners. That means you cannot take your Capital One credit card miles and transfer them directly into United Miles. So this is one of those things that can make a difference between whether you want to go with credit cards from one financial company versus another is if you have any sort of affinity with certain travel providers like an airline or a hotel chain, you'll probably want to look up, using the United example, hey, I fly United all the time. That's who I prefer to fly with, or who I'm forced to fly with because of the places I fly and because of where I live. Which credit cards would be the best in that case? Sometimes you might just want to get a United branded credit card so that the credit card earns the United miles directly. But like I said before, I kind of like the transferable credit card points a little bit better because they're more flexible and you can transfer them to different airlines and different hotel chains and things like that instead of always only earning United miles or always only earning Marriott points, for example. But this Capital One, the Venture One Rewards, it's also a very similar credit card in some ways. You earn basically one rate for nearly all your purchases. The Chase one has some prominent bonus categories for restaurants and certain takeout delivery services, and also for drugstores, 3% instead of the 1.5. With the Capital One, this particular credit card, there are no similar bonus categories, which in some ways is not necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes these bonus categories are quite hard to keep track of. I know that whenever I buy something, I need to do the mental gymnastics as to which credit card should I be using. I have a lot of credit cards by now, and I have to stop and think about, okay, for this particular purchase from this particular retailer, for this type of good or service, which credit card will earn me the most points. That becomes a little bit more advanced, and that's not really the an enjoyable thing to do for a lot of people. So that's why a credit card like this, where there's no bonus categories, you're just going to earn 1.25 miles for every dollar. The simplicity sometimes is really nice, especially if you are just getting into points and miles and earning them using credit cards. Just having a credit card like this is really nice, where you don't have to think too much about it as a beginner. Even for someone who's a little more advanced like me, I would still have a credit card like this, or the Chase version. Like I said, I had the Chase one for many, many years now. It's a staple because there are a lot of purchases people make that don't fit into those bonus categories. Bonus categories are very popular for dining and for travel and for drugstores and for things like that. Those are the types of purchases where you're going to see bonus categories the most, is either for travel or for food, or sometimes you see them for groceries. But there are a lot of things that you charge to your credit card that are not going to be those bonus categories. So to have what's called a flat earnings rate credit card, where you get a X number of miles or points for every single purchase, is kind of like a catch-all, or kind of like everything else type of a credit card. So even if you later on become more advanced in the points and miles credit card game, you might get other credit cards that will give you bonus points for restaurants, bonus points for groceries, bonus points for gas stations, bonus points for airline tickets and hotel stays. You still have other expenses in your daily life that don't fit into any of those bonus categories, no matter how many credit cards you have. And having a credit card like this Capital One credit card or the Chase one, that's where the rest of your purchases can go that don't fit into any of the bonus categories from any of the other credit cards you might have in your wallet. The final one I want to talk about doesn't earn miles and points. So I've talked a little bit about the Chase Freedom Unlimited, it being marketed as a cashback card, and I explained how there are a couple of ways that cashback can work usually for a cashback credit card. I want to talk about American Express because I really like the American Express cards, in my opinion. And by the way, Amex has excellent customer service. I've been an Amex customer for like too many years to count. And every time I've had to contact their customer support, like every single time, it's been like very good customer support. Any other company, credit card or otherwise, that I've had to contact for customer service, it's been very hit and miss, and it's usually not that great. But if a great customer service experience is important to you, I would definitely strongly recommend American Express. So American Express does not have any free credit cards that earn miles and points. It's just not part of their catalog. They have a lot of credit cards that do have an annual fee that do earn miles and points, and they call their point system membership rewards. However, if you want to stick with the theme of no annual fee credit cards, but I still want to give a shout out to Amex because I do like their credit cards a lot, and again, they have great customer service. They have a card called the Blue Cash Everyday card. So it does not earn miles and points. It is a cashback card, but like literally cashback in the sense that when you make a purchase, you will get cash back on it, like literally cash back on your statements, your monthly statements. but it's still it's a credit card that does something for you, gives you a little bit of your money back without costing you anything. So if all this talk about miles and points is a little confusing and you're not quite sure you want to deal with miles and points right now, but you're interested in having a credit card that doesn't cost you anything, it does not have an annual fee, but it's still going to do something for you, a cashback card is excellent for that. Like, who doesn't want a little bit of their money back? Money that you'd be spending on groceries and food and paying your utility bills anyways. Like, why not have a little bit of money back? I would love to have some of my money back. So this is a really great credit card for that. So here are some of the cashback benefits. You get 3% cash back in US supermarket purchases, up to $6,000 in purchases per year. So if you spend less than $6,000 on groceries in a year, then those purchases from supermarkets in the US will get you 3% cash back. That's actually pretty good. If you spend more than $6,000 in US supermarkets, then anything over the $6,000, you still get 1% back, which is not as good as the 3%, but it's still something. I mean, if you live solo, you just getting groceries for one, you're probably gonna spend less than $6,000. If you are a couple, I mean, depending on where you live and how much you guys, eat in versus eat out, for example, I think that's still like a reasonable amount. And for a credit card that has no annual fee, even if you spend way more than $6,000 in groceries in a year, to get 3% back on the first $6,000 for free, basically, it's still pretty damn good. So that's a category that's super easy to use. Next category, they have a few more. It's 3% cash back on online retail purchases. Again, up to the first $6,000 in the year, and anything over $6,000 in a year, you get the 1%. Now, what qualifies as online retail purchases? Amazon.com, Walmart.com are the two really, really big ones. So sometimes when credit card companies have these bonus categories, bonus earning categories on the credit cards, they'll use terms like gas station, supermarket, online retailers. And sometimes it's a little bit difficult to know exactly what counts and doesn't count. For example, I mentioned that Chase credit card, it gives you 3% as a bonus category for drugstores. Walmart is not a drugstore. A drugstore is a Walgreens or Rite Aid or a CVS. Even if you were picking up a prescription at Walmart and that was the only charge that appeared on your credit card for that particular visit, Walmart is not generally categorized as a drugstore, and you would not get the 3% back on that prescription you got filled at Walmart. So just a little side note there. But here, the 3% on US online retail purchases, just as an example, it does include Amazon.com. If you do a lot of Amazon shopping, and a lot of people do, you're going to get 3% back on the first $6,000 you spend in that year, and then 1% after the $6,000 cap. But it also extends to like Walmart.com. Walmart is actually doing a big push with their website and being an online retailer now. There's a lot of things you can get on Walmart that can also get on Amazon. They're really pushing really hard with that. A lot of other kind of online shopping, a lot of the online shopping counts as well. So this is just kind of crowdsurf from the web, but places like JCPenney's, Kohl's, Neiman Marcus, Nordstrom's, things like that still counts as an online retailer. So I know that it's a little nebulous when Amex says, quote, US online retail stores or retail purchases. But, even you were only to use it on like Amazon, Amazon is definitely one of those vendors that qualifies for that 3% cashback. So that's actually a really, really great return. And the final bonus category they have here is 3% cashback on US gas stations. Again, up to $6,000 in a year. And then after that, it's just a 1% back. If you drive, if you commute, if you need to put gas in your tank, that's easily 3% back. So yeah, this one does not earn miles or points. But again, if you're not quite ready for miles and points yet, still seems like something kind of complicated, but you are very interested in having a free credit card that you can use on very everyday things, shopping on Amazon or on Walmart, or getting groceries or going to the gas station, pumping gas. This is like a really excellent, great credit card for that. So that's just some examples. I'm not necessarily going to call them like recommendations because again, if you're going to pick a credit card, you kind of maybe need to look at your spending patterns and your spending habits and see which credit card might be right for you. You want to look at which bank or financial institution has the best travel partners. If you're interested in leveraging points to transfer partners, the United and Chase example I gave before is one example of that. And also there are cashback cards like this Amex one, the Blue Cash Everyday card, where you're not quite ready to dip your toes into miles and points, but you still want a credit card to do something for you. Getting 3% back on Amazon and supermarkets and gas stations for free, basically, it's for me, it's like a no-brainer. I think David Lam just came home, which means it's time for me to end the podcast. Well, thank you so much for listening. If you all want me to talk more about miles and points or have any specific questions about miles and points, just let me know. Oh, David's here. Hey, David, would you like to say hi to the podcast? You can say hi to the podcast.
Hello? Where is it? Hello?
The mic's here.
Where's the camera? Is it a camera?
The camera's there.
Oh, fuck.
Okay, well, there you go. David Lam says hi.
So I didn't know.
Yeah, he says sorry, he doesn't know, but he always knows. Oh, the audience can see your ass now. You keep bending over. Don't worry, I'll zoom in the edit. All right, until next time. Bye, y'all.
Oh, okay, sorry. Bye.